again, and welcome to the second project in our art kit. And once again, my name is Morgan Krepke, or you can call me Ms. K. So the project we're having today, and you can follow along on this sheet that was in your box, we are doing the accordion fold comic today. So last time we did our pin joint character, it's now done. So for the comic, it doesn't have to relate to your pin joint character. If you want the character that you did last time in your comic, awesome, you can do that. There are no rules on the story for your comic. It is a bit of an unusual format for doing a comic in, particularly nowadays. You won't necessarily have panels that you can change sizes of, but it will still be in the linear format, so you'll still have a story like a book over time. You can either unfold the whole thing and see it, or you can turn it like a really thick page book, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like when we get there. So let's dive in and look at the supplies. You will need your paint set, including the lid, your paintbrush, scissors, glue stick, eraser and pencil. Again, remember to have cut off that eraser tip on your pencil. We don't want that one. It's a very naughty one. Okay, we also have, I have 3 pens here, and that's because, again, some of the kits have 2 different kinds of 0.5 pens. This is your thin one, which that's uniform for everyone. And then you have one of 2. You have the Pentel and you have the Micron. So that's why I've got 3 pens here. You will also need your 2 bookboard pieces. They're 3" by 3". And you'll need your 2 pieces of drawing paper. So, again, to tell these 2 pieces of paper apart, you will have used your watercolor paper, so that's 1 less white paper you'll need to distinguish. These guys are slightly yellow when compared to the other papers, but if that's too difficult to tell, they're also heavier than the printer paper that is left in there, and your vellum and all of that. So these guys are the slightly heavier ones. Okay, first things first, clear your deck. Make sure you have a container for water for your paint when we get there. There are several methods of which you can go about doing this particular project. That's why I gave you 2 sheets of paper. So you can set one up more as a pop-up, and I can show you exactly what that looks like. Or you can do just, hang on, I'm gonna need my pencil. Or you can do just the paper itself and painting and drawing, and that's all you have to do if you want. So I'm going to begin with page 1. And now your squares are 3 inches. So you should be able to get 3 of these in here, just about. So what I'm going to do is folding it, I believe the term is hot dog, into 3s. So I'm going to use, I started to bend it this way. You can do it this way if you're very comfortable with that and folding it. But I do it just to get a slight bend here, and then I'm actually going to use these guys as my measurement. Hopefully you can see that. Yep, okay. As my measurement here, so I'm going to fold to the edge and flatten that out. Okay, and then go all the way down, nice and straight. So you don't need a ruler for this project, but if you have one and you want to use it, go for it. All right, so that's 1. And come on. Going to match it up with the line that we had already folded. Go. Okay. So to make my lines really crisp, I go over them with the back of my nail and I push really hard. If that's too painful, for some people it is, you know? So you could use one of your pens and push really hard, and it makes a nice crisp fold. I don't mind using my thumb. Push really hard, and voila, nice crisp edges. Okay, so I'm actually going to cut these out without using scissors. If you want, you can cut these strips using your scissors, but I'm going to show you a technique where you don't need it, because I'll need those scissors for doing the pop-up part. And it's sort of an optional thing. Okay, so I did another crisp fold going the other opposite direction. Now it folds both ways. I'm going to do that with my other one. Again, I'm using my thumbnail, pushing really hard, but you can use the back of your pen. I would not recommend using your pencil because it will leave an orange mark from the paint. It's not a good thing to use. Okay, so now that I've done that, holding the paper really close to the edge, I'm going to do it left-handed here. You can just gently pull your pages apart. This is when you have two very, very crisp folds going two different directions on that paper, and it leaves kind of a nice feather edge. I like the way that it looks, so I'll use it as the exterior edge. Okay, and it's the same for this guy. I'm going to use my dominant hand, which is my right. So I'm sorry if it blocks it for the camera here. Okay, and it's okay if you get a bit of an edge, a little bit some teeth, not quite perfect, but if you get a big whoop, that means you did not press hard enough on your paper. And that's okay, that's why you have extra. So if you make a really big whoop mistake, then one of your pages won't be any good because it'll have that divot out of it. So discard that and fold again from your new piece of paper, and then get it lined up. And again, you can use scissors if you want to, or fold it just really, really crisp, and you won't need them. Okay, so now you're going to glue your book cover to your paper, okay? So I'm actually gonna glue my square here. Get lots of glue on there. You want it very, very, very purple. No skimping with the glue. So I'm actually going to use my nail. I use my nails a lot. And that's also why I'm wearing an apron, because I can wipe it off on that. Okay. You're going to glue this down nice and close to your edge. And I push down really, really hard with the heel of my hand to go over the edges. Again, this is also where you can use your pen or even the handles of your scissors to be sure that you have that edge, and just rub it across. So you have it nice and crisp. It's not going anywhere. That's what we want. All right. So then we are going to fold our paper and make sure that it will fold precisely inside. So you line up your edges. Again, using my nail, and you just go back and forth. Easy pattern. Make sure you got your edges lined up. If you get this top edge lined up, then your book will be really very straight, so you won't need to worry about it. All right, and then the last page. Okay, so this one you'll notice is a bit short. That's okay. We actually want it a bit short because we're going to make a tab to attach our next page. So it's going to fold over like this, and then you'll fold over the edge. So I am going to use my glue, and I don't want the glue on the nice white part of my paper. Although this glue vanishes, it doesn't stay purple, which is nice. So again, I'm just doing a lot of glue. You go straight to the edge. And this is also water soluble. So if you have it on your desk and you don't like how it feels, you just get a wet paper towel or a wet cloth, not soaking wet, but just damp, and you can wipe it off and it's nice and smooth. Cap back on. And then gluing right to the edge here. As I say in a really high voice, right to the edge. Nice and smooth. So this is going to give you quite a long story. You'll be able to do lots of panels with it. So I'm going to wait for it to dry a smidge. Just rub it back and forth a little bit. And it feels pretty strong. So I'm going to go ahead and start, whoopsie daisies, folding again. It doesn't have to be precise size, it's just kind of what you feel like. I do about 1/2 inch for connecting the pages. I don't want it to stick to. Okay. So now, lining our papers up again, making sure it's flush with the top. Back and forth. So you should end up with one end the exact size as when you started. So in this end, you're going to put your back of your book. So it will be your covers. So at the very end, you're going to put it on this side, which I'm debating. I think I'm actually going to do the paper this time. I don't know why I turned it. It's identical. Okay. So you can see with the fold, it's bunched up a bit on the back here, so there is a little bit left over. It's not a big deal. The other thing you're going to want to be very careful of is don't cut your edges, because this is now, if you don't like it, is what I'm saying. Don't cut it off, because this is your book. And it has two sides. The other fun thing is that you can make a pretty fun display of it. So you can fold it together and have people walk around and look at it. Accordion books are pretty fun. You can do all kinds of things to them. So I'm also going to show you a couple examples of how to do a pop-up in it. But for now, if you want to get started, for those of you who are not going to do the pop-up part, you can just start making your comic with your pencil, your pens, your watercolor, and just have at it and have fun. So I'll show you a time lapse of what I do, and then I'll pause it when I get to the cut out paper pop-up section, because I am still deciding what to do for my story. So there you go. Here I am with my completed book, and you could see in the time lapse that I painted it. So in my story, I decided to use essentially 2 pages or a spread to create my panels. And I did a full bleed, meaning I went all the way to the edge of the page. And that's how I decided to tell my story. And now here you can see I've started putting in a bit of what I like to call the pop-up area. It's not a true pop-up, but it's kind of fun to do. And I've decided to do it for the words. Just a couple of the big ones, and I left them white because this is an example page for me to provide to you. So here, I will show you how I did this if you find this interesting. So this is from the second sheet of paper, which this is all that's left for me now. I have cut it up and used it for making thin strips about this size. And for cutting out my letters, I made a couple of mistakes, which happens. And that is why I am now down to a very small size of paper all of a sudden. It can happen. All right. So I'm going to first show you some techniques about using scissors and cutting these holes in the inside of your page. Cutting the outside is fairly straightforward, but if you have really something small and these bigger ones inside the B. So here we go. So just as I had done before, I'm going to kind of pinch the page and make sure all my fingers are free, because I do not want to pinch my finger in the scissors. It's absolutely no fun at all. All right, so I have made this cut. I'm going to insert my scissors and just start very slowly using just the very tip of my scissors, cutting through the edge of the inside. And you just go around trimming it just like that. You get excellent control, and honestly, the larger your inside shape, whatever it is, if it's letters, if it's an eye, if it's a globe, whatever, a cactus. If you have an inside shape at all, it's best, particularly with these large scissors as well, that you do large inside spaces. So I've got one very tiny space coming up, and we'll see how that is. Again, my hands are totally free, so I don't cut myself. And again, just doing the same as I had done up there. And just take your time. I've done this a lot, but even though I have done it a lot, I still make mistakes. But that's what tape is for. All right, so now I have this very sneaky bit right inside here, and I can tell you that's gonna be tricky, but I'm gonna give it a go. Again, making sure my hands are free. Snip. So I just caught it with the very, very smallest edge. Scissor here won't even go all the way through. See if I can cut that out. Bingo, and there it is. Cut out. Okay. So once you have whatever object it is that you want to make the cutout shape, or the pop-up, excuse me, the pop-up shape, and here I have my words, which I'm doing words specifically because in this part of my comic, my owl is very afraid, and the words are what is causing her to be afraid. So I want them larger than life, and the best way to do that on a 2D surface, besides making them large and brightly colored, is making them pop up, because it's something you can do with paper. It's pretty malleable. You can do some fun things with it. All right, so I have cut a small strip that I think I'll just need the one. All right, so I'm kind of measuring very vaguely with my piece there, and I'm folding over to make the tab that I'm going to glue to that part that I just measured using our purple glue, and I'm going to do that now. So how many folds you do will determine how tall it stands off the paper. I'll show you what that means in a minute. Right. Gonna hold it really firmly for a minute. Not literally a minute, just a few seconds. Okay. Fold. Again, you want to kind of hide it. And I'll make it about that tall, about 3 folds. Okay, so I will then, careful not to cut myself, snip off the paper, leaving just a bit of a tab. I'll glue that. Nice and a lot of glue. Never can go wrong with putting too much glue. There's no such thing. Unless it's really wet glue, in which case it is a thing. Okay. And then the same spot that I glued it earlier. Okay. Ta-da! There you go. So that is how you can do a fun little pop-up. And you flatten them down. Mine are gonna stick out, and some of these will fold sort of funny on the page. Again, it's not exactly a true pop-up, but it's a quick introductory pop-up. There we go. And then this is the rest of my story, which I have left painted, and I actually ran out of space. Well, you can call it running out of space, or you can call it planned. And I chose to do the back, utilizing the entire book to tell the story of my owl. Now I do have one page, which happens to be on the page that I have done the pop-up, the back of. That is a 3-page spread. So that is what you would call a panel, a single panel in regular comics. And then here is a typical panel with a border. This is what most American comics you'll see will have when they're telling their stories, and I have examples of some of my artwork with comics that I can show after this. And there you go, happy little owl at night, looking at the stars. The end. So that is project 2. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next time. Well, not really. I will virtually envision you next time. You will definitely see me next time for project number 3. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for following along with me for these projects with the art kit. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, you have this wonderful little pamphlet in the box. It's about becoming a member at UVA. And also do remember that if you hashtag UVA art kits, you can share your projects on Instagram, and also by tagging UV Arts by April 30th, you have the chance to win a $10 Dutch Brothers gift card. If you would like to pursue private art lessons, you can book a lesson with me on my website, which is in the link below, and I would love to see you.